We want what we're sharing to be clear. We want our audience to understand why it's important. We want to have some basic structure behind it. But do we need to get every word perfectly? No. Is it a problem if we fumble a sentence while we're talking? No, not a problem.
In my mind, I was like, I don't know how to talk like that. I just felt like they were speaking another language. Fast forward, once I realized, oh, it's a framework. So it's like a template. Then it clicked. Like if I say this, I sound smart, I look smart, I am smart, I'm doing the damn thing. And it builds your confidence.
Welcome to The Art of Speaking Up, a podcast that helps professional women access the limitless potential that lies within them. I'm your host, Jessica Guzik, and my mission is to help you find that spark inside you that has the power to transform your career in ways you may not have thought possible. I'm so excited that you're here. And now, on to the show.
Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today's episode is a little bit different. I was recently a guest on Felicia and Rose Enuha's podcast, the Trill MBA show. And the questions that she asked me were so useful that I wanted to share that full interview with everyone here. So in this episode, you're going to hear us talk about how to represent yourself and your work more confidently in the workplace, techniques for commanding respect when you speak, and how to demonstrate your leadership skills through the way you communicate. I am so excited for you to dive in, and make sure to check out Felicia's podcast, The Trill MBA Show. I will link it in the show notes, and let us both know what you think and enjoy.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I am so excited today to bring back a two-time guest. I mean, technically 3 times because I was on her podcast too. So like, this is what we do, okay? We try to help you guys. We try to make sure that you're not like in these corporate streets looking crazy. We're trying to make sure that you know how to speak up for yourself, okay? So I'm happy to bring back Jessica Guzik of The Art of Speaking Up. She is a leadership and executive coach and a powerhouse in this game we call corporate. She's been in corporate. She knows corporate. Y'all, she was a consultant. And I mean, she was a big dog company consultant, not little dog, big dog. Okay. So today we're really going to be talking about how do we focus on our power in how we show up and how we speak. Like, what does it actually look like to use your voice? And I know what a lot of y'all might be thinking, what this woman gonna teach me? A lot, okay? She wouldn't be on the show if she wasn't gonna drop gems. So Jessica, welcome back to the show. I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy to see you. I know. Last time we were in the studio I had in LA. And someday I'm going to have another studio and we're going to be in person again.
That makes me happy. It was like a tease getting to do it in person. It was so fun. And now I'm like, she doesn't live here anymore. What is happening to the world?
I know. The world is tripping, but it's going to be okay.
Yeah,
because
we're going to get through it.
We still got the gems. You're going to help us go even deeper on how to appear powerful in corporate spaces without losing our authenticity, keeping our calm, and keeping our credibility. And yes. I'm so excited. So whether you're trying to lead meetings or you want to push back professionally, or you just want to stop downplaying your brilliance, this is the episode for you, okay? So the first thing we want to talk about today is how do we speak for impact? Like, we want to speak so we can be heard. But do you get this? Like, I feel like a lot of times my clients are like, I don't know what to say, Felicia. That's why people come to me. They come to me to help them with what to say and how to say it in a way that's impactful. And with your podcast, The Art of Speaking Up, why do you think it's so hard for us to speak up?
There's a few things. I think one is, as women, we are conditioned to be humble. And so when it comes time to take up more space in the way that we are sharing our ideas, that can feel like bragging and it can feel like we're doing something wrong. But I think the other thing, this is something I realized after years of coaching women, is we just don't really get taught how to do this. And I didn't realize that this is something I learned in consulting because we were constantly trying to sell a big vision to our clients. So I kind of learned this corporate lingo. But if you haven't been in a very specific environment that teaches that, then you might not actually know how to articulate yourself in a way that's really going to land in a corporate environment. And if that's the case, nothing's wrong with you. It's not that you're not smart enough. It's just a set of skills that you can learn. And once you learn them, you will know how to represent your ideas and yourself really effectively.
I'm so glad you said that, because I remember when I was in business school, and it was the summer before I started school. I was a part of the consortium, and the consortium has the orientation program. So it's all the first years before they start, they get together, and then companies come and they talk to us. They're just trying to meet us and get ahead of the curve for recruiting. And, I went to the University of Texas at Austin, and I'm smart and I can learn and I can do it. And I always did well that way. And then when I got to business school, they would take what I said and they would change it. In my mind, I was like, I don't know how to talk like that. But what they were doing were they were framing up my examples in a STAR statement. And I had never heard of a STAR statement, like situation, task, action, result. I never knew that they were behavioral questions. And so I just felt like they were speaking another language. And then I felt really insecure. I'm from a small town in Texas. I'm from the country. So I was like, oh, I'm just a country bumpkin and this proves it. And right. And then fast forward, once I realized, oh, it's a framework. So it's like a template. And you kind of fill it out. And then you know your story. So you just say it. And then once I learned it, I was able to teach it because it clicked. But it didn't feel like in the beginning, it felt like something I could never do. Like I got so angry because I don't talk like that. But once I realized, oh, this is just a skill.
Yes. And you did what a lot of my clients do and what a lot of people do, which is they see people communicating in a way that feels really impressive. They realize they don't have that skill, and then they internalize it, and it takes them down a shame spiral when really it's just that you haven't been exposed to it. Truly, there's nothing wrong with you. This is an experience my clients have a lot. Someone will say something really well, like really articulately, and it will make them feel bad for the rest of the day because they're thinking, wow, I never could have said it that way. And when that happens, it just breaks my heart because number one, you absolutely can. And number two, when you get down on yourself, it interferes with your ability to learn and to acquire that skill.
That made me think of something. Do you find that your internal processor clients have the most struggle with this in meetings because they're put on the spot?
Yes.
And do you have any advice for them?
Yes. Most of the women who are attracted to my work really like to plan what they're going to say. And a really common thing they experience is they start planning what they're going to say and they get so far in their head, they lose track of what's happening around them and they don't even end up contributing. There's so many different things that help with this, but one very simple tip is the more you can be speaking throughout a meeting, the easier it becomes to then start sharing things or answering questions on the fly. So think about it as every second that goes by that you're quiet, your brain is getting rustier and rustier in terms of coming up with something to say. And the sooner you speak and the more often you speak, the easier it's going to be for you to come up with things and navigate the conversation dynamically. So that's a really big one. The second one is more of a mindset tip, but it's really important to break the habit of criticizing yourself as you're speaking. Something that makes it hard for people to speak on the spot is it doesn't come out as perfectly as it would come out if you planned it, right? That makes sense. Things are going to come out better when you plan it. And that's not a problem. That's a normal part of human speech. But then they hear it coming out slightly imperfectly, and they're thinking about how bad they sound and how they're fumbling, and that distracts them, and it creates a stress response. And then it makes it hard to continue speaking effectively. So it's super important to notice if you're doing that and just take that self-critical voice and just put it to the side, right? It's there. Right. It's probably going to pop up, but you don't have to listen to it. You don't have to get so sucked into it.
Yeah. And I will say the other thing you need to let go of, if there's a voice in you that says, you better watch what you say in front of these people, like, you also have to let go of that voice too, because we're all going to make mistakes. And I know that for some of us, those mistakes feel like you can't come back from them, that they're so detrimental. And I'm here to tell you, if it's that detrimental and you lose your job, that wasn't where you were supposed to be anyway. And I know that's very flippant to say in an environment where unemployment rates are double for us than they are for everyone else. But you're going to be fine. And so you really have to let yourself free from judgment.
One thing I often tell my clients is when you're worried about upsetting someone or stepping on someone's toes, it's not because you have secret plans to sabotage them and the thing that you're saying is going to make them realize it. Usually the thing that you want to say is coming from a place of you deeply caring about your work and wanting to do good work. Like, no one who's listening to this show is someone who's trying to do the least and trying to make people around them look bad. So when you think about it from that angle, it becomes a little bit easier because first of all, you can incorporate that into what you say and say like, hey, I'm thinking about how we can get a better result or how I can support you better with this. And second, that can help you feel just a little bit more at ease, knowing that your intention is truly to serve. You aren't trying to do anything subversive in the room.
Yeah. Also, assume positive intent. And I know that's very hard, but just assume positive intent that the person you're speaking with also wants good things and they're really not thinking about you like that. Like, they're not trying to come for you. You'll know when people are really trying to come for you. But if you are always sitting in a posture of, oh, they coming for me, oh, I got to be super careful, that walking on eggshells, you got to let that go because it's going to go down how it go down anyway.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. And sometimes people feel that energy, right? And then that's the energy itself that makes them feel like it's something weird in the room. And so, but I think it's hard because I know people have had real experiences where something unfair has happened and now they're afraid that it's going to happen again. So like at the same time, I wouldn't want to invalidate the feeling, and it's a hard line to walk.
It is. But you have to remember that where you were isn't where you are.
Yes.
You can't live in the past. You literally have to let that go. And this is why I tell everybody, anybody that works with people, please get a therapist.
Oh my gosh, yes.
You have to get a therapist because there's so much stuff that we carry in our back seats. And if we're not careful, we bring that with us. And then the next thing you know, you're getting upset and you're getting angry. And it's not even about work. It's not really about work. It's just that was the last straw to your emotions. And then, you do something you can't come back from. That's why I always try to tell people like, well, I try for myself too. I try not to say anything or make any decisions when I know I'm in an heightened emotion. Like if I know I'm upset about something or somebody says something to me and it hit me wrong, I try not to immediately respond. I try to say, okay, let me process that. That's like my go-to to say. Okay, I just need to process what you said. I'll come back with the response that moves the business forward.
Yes.
Right?
And I'm sure that you had to put effort into developing that because it's what you're describing is simple, but it is not an easy thing to do in the moment.
Here's our goal today. just so you know. We want to give you language. We want to give you practical nuggets of language that you can take and use like templates so that you know this will work. Like if I say this, I sound smart, I look smart, I am smart, I'm doing the damn thing. And it builds your confidence. Because how much of this just comes down to just confidence?
Huge. I had this thought when I was getting ready for our interview in front of the mirror, and I realized, because I was thinking about my clients really want to sound smart, right? They want that so badly. And I was thinking, do you realize that the successful leaders are the people that are kind of dumb, but just had a ton of confidence? And then I had this thought of like, what if the answer is in a way to try to be dumber? Like, what if the answer is just to let go of that idea, and confidence is the thing that got them where they are, and they didn't question themselves and say, oh, I don't have this skill or I don't understand this. They just move forward, and that's how they get ahead in an organization. And I think as women, that is much harder for us to do. We feel like we need to have the answers and the expertise before we're quote unquote allowed to be confident. And it's really helpful to look around at the leaders around you and ask, is it that they're so smart or is it that they're confident? And it can help you start to see a different way of approaching things.
Now, here's the conundrum. I still don't know what happens when a woman comes in and she truly is just confident and she gets all these labels. And no matter what your ethnicity or race or however you identify, if you identify as a woman, then if you walk in the room confident, now there's, oh, she full of herself. Have you seen that happen?
Yes. I think as a society, we still don't have a way of understanding what it even means as a woman to be self-assured. Like, it's such a novel thing compared to a man being that way, that when we see it, it brings up dissonance and discomfort. And all of a sudden we start criticizing in our minds. And I think it's a very unfortunate thing that happens, but I also think we shouldn't shrink ourselves because it happens. We have to just be willing to power through. One thing that I share with my clients that really helps them is your job isn't just to be confident. Your job is to be inspirational. Your job is to make everyone in the room also feel like a hero. Because if they feel like a hero, they are going to be obsessed with you if you made them feel that way. And that really helps them see like, oh, I can take up space and I can be a leader, but in a way that feels really good, because it's not just about me and I look so good. It's like, I have to get this room full of people excited and engaged and really bought into this. And I think that's a really wonderful thing because it's still powerful. It doesn't take away from your power, but it also helps you maybe channel some of that generosity that you have and some of those relational skills that you have, where it's not just about you, it's about coming together with other people.
Exactly. And here's my trick for showing up in that energy. Smile.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people want to cuss me out because women hate to be told to smile. And I get that. Because you ever have a man do this to you? Like you can be lost in your thoughts. Like you're out in the grocery store or something, you looking at something, you lost in your thoughts. What you in your own little world. And a man will see you and be like, oh, you're so pretty, you should smile. Has that ever happened to you?
It happens to me often. It hasn't happened a ton recently, but I've gotten to a point in my life where I've worked through a lot of my people pleasing. And so when that used to happen, I would just like run away or whatever. And now I would just give them the stink eye and try to make them feel super uncomfortable. So I'm just like, okay, fine, you can do that to me. But just so you know, this isn't going to end well for you. It infuriates me. It deeply upsets me.
Yes. And I think that's why, we've kind of gotten into this, we really don't care. But when we're being strategic in the workplace.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So understand, outside of work, yeah, we really don't care. But at work, we're on a mission.
Yeah, no stink eye at work. Just to clarify. This is like grocery store aisle. Man being like, smile.
And you're like,
absolutely not. Yeah. But in the workplace, if it's your natural personality to smile, great. If that feels like, oh, that's not really who I am, I'm not like a smiley, bubbly person, you can think about bringing energy into the room. You can think about being more alive and more present. Because if you think about a job of a leader, one of the jobs is to bring energy and to create a feeling in the room where everyone's like, yeah, let's work on this. Or like, yes, this is exciting. Like, let's get it done. And that could be through happiness and joy and a smile, but it could just be through like having this forward momentum or having this presence and energy. So I always like to tell people there's not one way. Like there's so many different ways, and you get to find the way that feels like you.
Yes. And sometimes you just have to say the feeling word, even if you don't feel it or you don't emote in that way. That's not your natural way of emoting. So like, I don't naturally at work, I'm not I'm so focused on getting it done and executing. I forget that I need to be excited and inspired because I'm like, what are we doing? Like, we got to get it done. So I have to remind myself to say, guys, I'm really excited about this, because even saying the word excited brings excitement, energy, right? And some words are just energetically that way. So find your energetic words that help and name the emotion that you want to bring into the room. And so even if you don't actually emote that way naturally, you can still say the word and it carries that emotion for you.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And if you want to be a leader or promoted up, you can think about it as, this is going to be part of my job when I'm in a bigger role, is not just cranking out the deliverables, but getting the humans around me excited and on board. So let me practice this. Let me demonstrate to my organization that I know how to do this. And that can help you self-motivate if you're kind of in a slump. Because think about it, the CEO of a company can't be like, oh, I'm in a bad mood, so like when I do the company meeting, it's just going to be really stale. Like, no, they're the CEO getting paid the big bucks. They have to rally and do what they need to do. So you can think about it as, if you want to be a leader, you have to do that in your own way. Maybe you're a CEO, I don't know, but you're probably not, but you're still a leader. It's still the same principle that applies.
Just, can you give us some examples of language that signals leadership and strategic thinking, either in meetings or in presentations at the office? Just how do you show up in that way from a words and language standpoint?
A really big one is to talk about the bigger goal. So, for example, if you're kicking off a meeting, instead of saying, today we're looking at the project plan, ask yourself, what is the bigger goal that this project plan is feeding into? Oh, it's helping us launch our product. So you could kick off with, as you know, it's super important for us to launch this product out to market next quarter, which is why I'm really excited to share the project plan that is going to help us do that. That's also known as top-down communication. You're starting big. You're starting with like, we have this really big goal of getting this product out. Oh, and by the way, here's the more specific thing that we're working on. And it helps an executive audience orient of like, why does this matter? Why am I in this meeting? And another way that you can apply the same idea is leading with the bigger business goal when you're putting forth a suggestion. So instead of just saying, hey, I think we should extend the timeline, ask yourself why. Why will the business benefit if we extend the timeline? And then you can say, I really want to make sure that we have time to do excellent design work so that we get good ROI on the campaign. So I actually think we should extend the timeline. This shows people you are thinking deeply. It makes your suggestion feel weightier and more legitimate. And for most people, they're already thinking these things, right? Like if you're engaged in your job, you are always asking yourself, how can I do a good job? Right. So basically, you're just getting yourself to share those things outwardly so that people can see the connection between your work and your suggestions and those bigger business goals that you are supporting and working towards in the work that you do.
Those bars. Listen, I hope you picked that up because that was worth money. That's what I'm talking about. Let's drop these gems today. So now, you know how we talk about self-promotion, right? Like I tell people all the time, your work can't talk. You talk and you have to talk for you. But how can we reframe self-promotion so that it feels less awkward and more powerful when we're talking about our accomplishments?
The phrase, your work can't talk, that is genius. This is the first time I'm hearing that, and I'm like, wow, that is so good. So there's a couple pieces to this. One is what I've been saying is you're getting people excited. So when you talk about all of the value that your work is creating in the organization, that makes you look good. And it also makes your audience think, oh, this is going to make me look good. And this is going to make the team look good. So that's one element. Another piece is something that I call selling the back end. So this is where you talk about all of the back end work that went into your deliverable that might not be immediately obvious to your audience. So you want to ask yourself, what knowledge did I use to create this? What expertise did I leverage to get this done? What problems and obstacles did I overcome along the way? A lot of times we're doing all this problem solving and all this deep work, and then we have a deliverable, and we don't tell our audience the story of all of the incredible things we did on the way to getting there. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of my clients, they don't even think that what they've done is remarkable because they're so used to it. Like, oh, of course I pulled this data set. Of course I cleaned up all the data before I built the model. And I'm thinking, okay, but if your client isn't not your client, if your audience member isn't a financy person, that's going to be very impressive to them that you did all of that stuff. So talk about it. It's going to help educate your audience on what went into your work, and it helps executives understand the mechanics that are behind your deliverables in a way that's useful for them.
You guys, you got to understand, your boss and your boss's boss, if they did do your job, it was years ago. And they did it with different technology than we have today, which means they don't know your job, or they also have this assumption that it's easy to do your job. I have a friend right now who has her boss's boss doesn't know how to do her job or her direct report's job. Like, she's just been the leader in that role for so long, and she's the head bitch in charge. The HBIC.
I love it.
But literally she does not know how to do their job. And that makes it very hard because they don't communicate the mechanics and everything, I think, very well. And everything's moving so fast that because she doesn't have a sense of every little piece that has to be orchestrated and all of the stakeholders that have to be aligned and all the things, there's this like, oh, you should just be able to do this, or it should just be that.
Yes.
And that's why it's so important. What you just said was like, I hope people really hear that, because, and I'm guilty of it too, of not thinking through like showing my work in a way, because there's a lot of thought work that happens before you ever pick up a mouse and open an application and go into that application, whether it be PowerPoint, Canva, Word, Excel. There's a lot of thinking that goes into what you're about to do before you ever do it. So then when you actually pull it all together, and some people are like, oh, that's what I need. They just see the end result and they think, oh, and like it must have been nothing. But like you did a lot of work and took the time to like tie it to the business deliverables, tie it to business expectations, make sure it hit the mark. Or if you're writing a brief, you had to go make sure you got the right research or whatever tasks or deliverable that you're doing.
Yes.
We need to show our work. And I just want people to get that and not be afraid to show the work. And don't let yourself talk yourself out of it. Just because you can do it doesn't mean everybody can do it.
Yes. And it's, even though it makes you look good, it's truly not bragging, because when your audience understands what's behind the thing they're looking at, it helps them understand that thing at a deeper level. So it truly is useful for them. And it really helps them start to see you as highly valuable, because when you say things like, because we've run campaigns like this so many times, we know exactly how long it takes and exactly what the budget needs to be. They think to themselves, oh, it's good we have her. Like, she's done this so many times. She knows exactly how it needs to run. They start to think, okay, we need to make sure not to lose her, right? Like, we need someone who has that level of deep knowledge. So anytime you drop one of these little hints of like, hey, I knew how to do this because I have knowledge and skills and expertise, it makes them think, oh, good. It's good we have that within the organization.
Yeah. And that helps you stay off the list, the layoff list.
Yes, absolutely.
Always a list.
Oh, especially now.
One thing I want us to talk about before we go to the break is, how important is the language that we use? I think sometimes we just talk. What advice do you have for your out loud thinkers?
Oh, who are being less structured and just kind of
they
thoughts.
Just talking. The perception you're leaving people is like, what the hell just happened?
What just happened? Yes. So one immediate tip is it's always helpful to say, I'm just going to share some messy thoughts right now. That's a good way to give people the heads up that you're getting something more raw, and then they can calibrate their expectations. So the women who follow my work tend to be perfectionists. So I'm always mindful to tell them that they need to be polished, because they're holding themselves to a standard that's just a little bit too high. So we want to be polished, but we don't want to put excessive amounts of pressure on ourselves that it needs to sound perfect. We are not news anchors. We are not professional speakers. We are corporate professionals, which means that we want what we're sharing to be clear. We want our audience to understand why it's important. We want to have some basic structure behind it. But do we need to get every word perfectly? No. Is it a problem if we fumble a sentence while we're talking? No, not a problem. What you're telling me, to me, it sounds like someone who could benefit from just loosely structuring things out. And instead of going on a long, meandering trail of thoughts, saying something like, okay, I have 3 topics that I want to go through. Let's start with the first one. Even like a light structure like that can make a really big difference. There's a few ways you could say it. You could say, I'm going to share some unstructured thoughts. Okay. I'm just going to share my messy thought process. You could say, I'm going to think out loud for a minute. And then it's less overwhelming because people know, okay, there's going to be a brain dump, versus if you just brain dump, they're like, what's happening?
Yes. So one of my clients, she got feedback, and she's a Black woman, and she's very polished. She's very perfect. Like, she's a badass, right? And one of her feedbacks was that she came across too perfect. Like, she came across too polished, like too buttoned up. I forgot the exact words, but it was like, really? So I realize now, because I believe she's an internal processor. And so she does structure and plan everything she's going to say. And I think one of the things that may help her in that breaking down the wall of connection,
yes,
is to say things or plan for messy thoughts. And I think that's a good trick for anyone who is so on their A game that you then get dinged for being on your A game.
Yes. Well, I see this a lot as well, because I think people are so afraid of fumbling that they overscript, and then it feels very robotic. And then their audience feels uncomfortable because it's like you said, their audience can feel that. And I think it makes sense if we're talking to someone and they feel very polished. It makes us feel like, oh, shoot, I need to be on my best behavior. It changes the vibe in the room. And I think it can feel very psychologically scary to depart from that style of communication. So I like to tell people to experiment in small ways, bringing in their personality, bringing in moments of warmth and present. It could be a small joke, even a tiny bit of small talk just at the beginning of like, oh, my cat jumped right in front of the camera. They always do that right before a meeting. Even just something like that can help humanize you.
Yeah. And I know this is emotionally exhausting. Like it is for all of us trying to think through how to show up. But if you're intentional with it, it makes your life easier on the back end.
Yes. And the other thing is, as your confidence grows and you get more comfortable, it does become easier to relax. And a lot of these meetings that used to feel like a performance, they just start to feel like conversations. Mm-hmm. So a lot of that over-preparing and anxiety tends to go away. And for many people, it just takes reps and exposure and time to really build their confidence. But like you get a promotion or two within your organization and people like you and respect you, you start to feel less afraid and you start to feel like, okay, I can just come and like run this meeting. I don't have to have like 27 perfect talking points ready to go.
Yeah. That is perfection. So listen, guys, we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back from the break, we're going to talk about leading with action, even if you're not the boss, because this is the other way that you show up in a powerful fashion. And Jess is going to give us more tips, tricks, and tactics to help us show up at work in a powerful fashion when we get back from the break. Let me ask you something. How many times have you watched less competent folks get promoted while you just stay stuck? I've seen it so many times. The whole reason why this show exists is I was like, what am I doing wrong? I would always blame myself. And if you're like me, you're probably sitting there doing that too. And the thing is, it's not your work and it's not you. It's actually your career strategy. You don't have one. That is the fundamental problem. Your hard work alone doesn't get you promoted. Strategy gets you promoted. So I have the fast track system. It's for high performing professionals like you who are ready to create their career strategy using the PI framework. This is very tactical, to the point, okay? So you'll walk away with a personal power plan that shows you exactly where you're strong, where you're invisible, and how to shift your career strategy without compromising who you are. So now, if you click the link in the show notes, you can go to the page where you can get this fast track system. You already have what it takes. You just need a strategy that works for you. And that's what this system does. So click the link in the show notes and grab it while it's on sale because, honey, the price is going to go up, okay? So again, go to the show notes, click the link, and get your plan together, girl, before they hand your next promotion to a Chad or a Bob. Now, let's get back to the show. All right, guys, we're back from the break. So this second segment, we're going to talk about leading with action. Yes. Even if you're not the boss, you still need to lead. So what does it mean to have a bias for action? Like, why does it make people see you as a leader?
So bias to action means your default is to take action. So a problem comes up, you think, what action can I take? And that's how your mind is always working. If you are in a leadership position, bias to action really helps you solve very difficult, complex problems. Because if you don't have bias to action, you might get stuck in indecision or stuck waiting for direction. But if you do have bias to action and a problem comes up, you choose a next step, you try it out, and you keep choosing a next step until you find your way out of it. So people with bias to action are great at problem solving, they're great at leading, and they're great at handling really big, messy pieces of work.
And listen, honey, I know a lot of us always get the mess to clean up. So
yes.
So this is why this is important. So now I know you say be action focused, but what does that mean from the language side? So like in meetings, what are some of the ways that we show up as the leader?
Yes. So if it's your meeting, always tell your audience what is being done in the meeting and try to share that at the very beginning. Are we here to make a decision? Are we here to approve a decision that's already been made? Are we here to workshop something? Tell them and say, what I need from you today is blank, and fill in the blank with either decision, approval, input, etc. This automatically positions you as the leader. When someone is telling us what to do, our brain just automatically assumes, oh, they're the ones in charge. And so it's a really helpful way to elevate your status in the room. But even if it's not your meeting, you can still demonstrate bias to action by saying things like, okay, it sounds like we've made a decision on this. Should we now move into the next item on the list? Or you could say, it sounds like we're stuck on this one thing. What can we do to help solve this so that we're able to move things forward? So it's just language that shows people that you're thinking, what's the next step and how can we get to it? And when people speak this way, what you'll notice is everyone in the room will then start looking to them, like for the answers, because they're the one creating direction. So it creates a form of gravitas that then has people looking to you. So if you're doing this regularly and the room gets stuck on something, people will turn to you and they'll like wait for you. Like, oh, well, she usually says the thing that gets us unstuck. And that's a really, really good reputation to have in corporate.
Yeah. And this is why you always need to have a point of view. Because with saying those words that Jess said, you can't just say, okay, guys, I think we need to get unstuck. I think this is a point where we're stuck. And then be like, yeah, I did it. No.
Right.
That's not how that works.
Yes. Yeah. And you don't have to have the exact answer. It doesn't have to be like, magic wand, I have the thing that gets us unstuck, but you have to come in with a perspective. So even saying, what do we need to solve this? That immediately positions you as the leader because you're basically telling everyone like, hey, let's move it along. Let's get this going.
Yeah. And people do want to move along and we want clarity. We all want clarity, but for some reason we get like lost.
Yes.
and we don't drive for it. And that's why I think your tip is so important, because part of that being action focused is driving for clarity. And driving for clarity is using the language that Jess just gave us. So like everybody can use that language. There are no landmines for that. Now, you can't say it with attitude.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's be mindful of your energy that you're bringing to the room, right?
Yeah. Yes. And people can feel your energy. And something that I often share is just the energy of service is a very useful energy to bring to a room. So the thought process behind that is, I want to help these leaders. I want to help the company. I want to help these leaders. I want us to finish this. I want it to be done well. If that's the energy you have when you share these things, people feel that intention and they feel that it's coming from a place of, oh, she wants to make sure that this is done well so that we look good, and they won't be offended by it. They'll want to lean on you to help them get a really good output.
Yeah. And that's what you want. Like, don't run from that. Don't be afraid of that. Be visible. And that leads me to my next question for you. How do we make our expertise visible in rooms where people tend to overlook us?
Yes, that is a really tricky one. So if it's a situation where you're being talked over, sometimes it can help to use phrases that slow things down and say things like, I want to stay on this just a little bit longer. I have a couple thoughts. And that cues everyone that you have something to say and to listen to you. And if your ideas aren't landing or someone else is sharing the same thing and people aren't seeing you as the expert, it's helpful to frame your ideas with a little bit of persuasion wrapped up in them. So not just sharing what the suggestion is, but why you feel strongly about it is one way. And then also all the stuff we talked about before, about thinking, what knowledge did I use to get here? And how can I make sure my audience understands everything that I did to create this deliverable? That's more for a situation if you're sharing something or you're the one running the room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but let's go back to, I thought that was interesting. Like, you have to wrap it in persuasion. I've never heard this. So what does that mean exactly?
So people respond when something makes them feel an emotion. And so usually people aren't going to feel excited or a positive emotion around a suggestion. So if you say, hey, I think that we should increase the budget for this, they'll probably either feel neutral or negative. Mm-hmm. But if you say, hey, I want to make sure that our sales exceed the last campaign that we did, that's going to elicit a positive emotion. And now everyone in the room is like, ooh, me too. I want more sales. And so then you say, I think we should increase the budget. So now you've presented your idea after wrapping it in that persuasion of like, hey, we can increase sales.
Ooh, that's so good. That's so good. So when you focus on the desired outcome, that becomes persuasive.
Yes.
And then you give what you're thinking or what you're recommending.
Exactly. I call it sell, then tell. So you sell before you tell them what you think you should do. And then by the time you tell them, they're more likely to go along with it because they're excited about what it can create.
Right. Because everybody wants that outcome.
Exactly.
Man, where were you?
And you can also, I know, this stuff is hard. It takes time to learn this and figure this stuff out. I messed up all of these things, right? Like I learned all this through trial and error. Mm-hmm. I was going to say, you can also use this when you're pushing back. And it's especially helpful when you're pushing back. Ooh. Instead of just saying, I think that we should do it my way, lead with the bigger win. I really want to make sure we deliver a quality product. That's why I think we should do it this way. I really want to make sure that we have time to QA this. That's why I think the deadline should be 1 week later than what it is. So you always start with like, what's the benefit here? And the rate at which your stakeholder or audience agrees with you will go up when you do that.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yes.
That's a gem right there. And I think the byproduct of that is additional visibility, which you want. I think a lot of people run from visibility. And it's so funny because the same people who run from visibility also feel away when they're like ignored or they're sidelined, which I think is funny.
Yeah.
Humans are so human.
We have contradictory desires. On the one hand, I don't want to be seen. On the other hand, I want to be seen. And it creates an enormous amount of emotional tension when we have those conflicting desires.
Yeah. Because what's really happening is, on the one hand, I want to be acknowledged, but on the other hand, I don't want to be judged.
Yes. We want to have our cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
We want the visibility, but not any of the risk that comes with it, which is a very human thing, right? Our brains don't like us to be emotionally uncomfortable, but sometimes the things that we want come with a certain amount of emotional discomfort. And so we have to decide, is that worth it to me? Is it worth it to me to do something scary that will also benefit my career?
That hit me. I need a moment.
Good. I'm glad it hit you.
That hit me. You know, when I do this show, a lot of times I also am going through my own ish. And there's a lot of us who know we should be doing something in our career, but it just feels so risky. And we're trying to remain safe whether it's speaking up in this meeting, asking somebody to be your mentor, or even just asking an influential person to coffee, or, trying to make a connection, or battling with a cross-functional, like there's so many little things and big things that go on as we're trying to navigate our career that we try so hard to stay safe, and it's doing us a disservice when the actual answer is problem solve the risk.
Yes. It's hard because there's an amount of the risk we can problem solve, and then there's an amount of it that's just going to be emotionally uncomfortable, no matter how prepared we are. And I think that's where I see people get really hung up, thinking if I've successfully problem solved this, it should no longer feel uncomfortable, when sometimes the discomfort is just an inherent part of the process. And I think it's important to not judge ourselves if we're getting stuck. But it is important to be truthful with ourselves about what's happening, because the sooner that we can be truthful about what's happening, the sooner we can get what we want, which is, the ideal outcome. And so if we can say, oh, I'm not doing this because it's so emotionally scary and I just can't rally myself to face that, at least I know what I'm working with. And now I can decide, okay, cool. Do I want to face that? Is it worth it to me, or is it not worth it to me? And I'm always telling my clients there is no right answer. I'm not trying to lead you in any sort of direction, truly. I am just trying to get you to pick what you truly want.
Yeah. And I'm here to tell y'all, it is hard to follow the thing you truly want.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times it has nothing to do with the path that's been laid out for us. And it's a pivot, and it's doing things where your family, your friends, your network are like looking at you like, what the fuck you doing?
Yes.
And a lot of times people won't understand.
No. And like they are going to judge you.
Yes, you're going to be judged. So just do it anyway. The sooner you get over that, the happier you'll be.
Yes. And being judged is a confidence builder. This is what we don't think about. We think about all the pain of being judged, but we don't think about who we are on the other side of it. We feel unstoppable. We're like, you all judged me and I did it. And now I'm good, and that is an irreplaceable feeling.
Yeah. And I think it allows you to continue to soar and win.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break before we wrap up. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk about how to push back without being labeled difficult. And I know that label of difficult means a lot of things to a lot of us. So we're going to get into it when we get back from this quick break. Hey guys. So we have digital tools that accompany each episode to help you work through some of the tactics and strategies that you need to put into place so that you're thriving at work. So go to trillandba.com, and if you haven't already, sign up for our freebies, and you'll get access to not only these digital tools that go with these episodes, but you'll also get access to every digital tool I've ever created that's free to you to help you in your career. Now, let's get back to the show. All right, guys, we are back from the break. We're going to wrap it up here because I have kept Jess way too long, but she just keep dropping gems and nuggets, and I want us to get all... Listen, Jess, we leaving here with something, okay?
Yeah, that makes me very happy.
So the last thing I want to talk about that's so important, I think a lot of people are afraid of, is when they give pushback, when we have to give pushback. And there are so many times that we have to speak up and give pushback because we have to take some ownership in the businesses that we work for. And that's your job. Like, your job is to be the protector of that part of the business that you work in. So sometimes you're going to have a difficult conversation. And I think the fear is, oh, I'm going to get labeled as difficult. And for Black women specifically, it's like, oh, I'm going to be labeled as a B, or I'm going to be labeled as a angry Black woman. And I know that all women go through this in some kind of way. That's just the variation that comes to us specifically as Black women. But I think your tips on how to respond when we're being challenged or we need to push back, I think it's just this language. So I want you to tell us, what is your tip for if we get challenged?
Yes. So usually our instinct is to do one of two things: either fight back against the person who's challenging us, or just agree with them really, really quickly. Everyone usually leans in one direction or the other. So what I recommend is the opposite, and it's one of the more uncomfortable things, but it's to go deeper into what they're sharing and say something like, tell me more about what you're thinking, which is very hard to do when someone's challenging your work. Like, you don't want to hear more about it, right?
Right.
But when you say that, number one, it slows down the conversation and it buys you time, because now they're going to start talking again. So you can take a deep breath, which is useful because you might be feeling stressed out. And it also shows them that you care. When you tell someone, tell me more, you're signaling, I'm listening to you. I'm not going to bulldoze past this. We're going to explore this. So their trust in you grows exponentially. And then also, they start telling you more and you learn important information that helps you problem solve. So it sets you up beautifully for problem solving. You're building trust with the stakeholder. You're understanding what's underneath the pushback. And then from there, you can think about it as, okay, my role is to now step up and be a leader and figure out how we solve this. And I like to tell people, when you're solving it, it's not you versus them. You're like a third party watching this from above, right? So if you were the CEO of your company and these two people were arguing, what would you pick and why? That's the perspective that you're bringing, is what is best for the business. And it starts making it feel less personal. It's like, oh, we just now need to figure out what overall makes sense here.
That's so good. And I want people that refocus on what's best for the business. I always tell my clients, focus there.
Yes.
Because a lot of times you're upset about some shit that's not important.
Yes.
Like you in your feelings, they in their feelings. And everybody is just trying to do the best they can. Also, everybody's got shit in their backseat. So like, I always tell people, I want you to feel your emotions at home. I want you to suspend your emotions for a second and snap back into question mode. And I love this question. Tell me more.
Yeah.
And that, y'all owe Jessica some money. Y'all make sure y'all subscribe and all the things, okay?
Or chocolate.
So how do we then push back without being seen combative? Especially when, we're dealing with all the isms and biases in the room. Maybe we're the only woman in the room. Maybe we're the only person of color in the room. Like, what is your tip or tactic for that?
So the cool thing is that the tell me more works in both directions.
Okay.
So if you see something and you're like, oh, I know this is wrong, instead of jumping straight into talking about that, you can say, hey, can you walk me through your logic and what you were thinking? And then they're going to go deeper into it. And then you're going to say, okay, great. So it sounds like you set it up this way for these couple of reasons. Is that right? Mm-hmm. And they'll say, yes. And then you say, okay, I have a slightly different thought process on this. Is it okay if I walk you through it? And then you start to get into your recommendation. So you're basically disarming them. And you're also learning about why they set it up the way that they did. So it's that same trust building principle. When you ask someone about something and they get to talk about it, that makes them trust you. And we don't have to jump straight into our suggestion. That's really not what assertiveness is. People think assertiveness is like fist on table. Let me tell you the right way to do it. That backfires a lot of the time, because if you have a certain style of stakeholder who doesn't like that approach, they're going to get annoyed by that. And so sometimes you have to be cautious, but you can still be confident and firm. And you can say, great, thank you for explaining that to me. I'd love to walk you through what I'm thinking here. And your stakeholder is probably going to say, awesome, what are you thinking? and then you can start to get into it.
Yeah. And I love, so there's a language trick there that you're using, and you're asking for permission.
Yes.
Which means you're getting them to buy in when you say, can I share my thinking? Because now, because they say yes and they can't really say no,
right.
Now they too have to listen to you. Because if they say no, that just makes them a straight up asshole.
Right.
And nobody, well, 99%. I know a few. I've worked with a few people that are just going to be assholes.
Yeah.
And even then, you're like, you just guffaw. You're like, oh, okay, well, forget about collaboration here, I guess. Is that really what you want? And then again, another question. Like, you can back baby in a corner, honey. And usually baby is a 6 foot tall, attractive man that thinks he knows more than you and you know he doesn't. But when you get him with them questions and disarm them, and the funny thing is, they will respect you for it.
Well, that's the thing, right? People don't realize that it's not going to turn people against you. It's going to command respect, especially when you do it in this more delicate way. And it's also, it helps people see that you care enough about the outcome to say something. And I think that's also really important. A lot of times we think, when I agree, that's going to make me look friendly and leadership's going to like me. If you never push back, they start to wonder, are the gears really turning? Think about if you have a teammate that never, or not teammate, a direct report who never asks for clarification, never pushes back. Like, that's not the person you want working for you.
No.
And so we also have to show people, I'm here and I'm invested enough that if I do see something, if you see something, say something, right?
Mm-hmm. Now, I will say, and you tell me your thoughts about this. I feel like there's a little bit of a caveat. I've worked in cultures that are yes cultures. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, even though people know, like, oh, this is some bullshit, like, we really should do it this way. Or, oh, my favorite, that creative was trash. And everybody in the room knows it's trash. But we're in a big public forum. So people like leave the big reveal of the big, campaign where like millions and tens of millions of dollars, right? If not $100 million is going into this big seasonal campaign with this big commercial that they paid actors, well-known actors, millions of dollars to be in the commercial. And then we're all sitting there like, oh, they're revealing, yay. And then you watch the minute and the 30-second and the 15-second, and you're like, this is stupid. This is dumb. What this got to do with our product? What was the brief? Did they follow the brief? Like, and it's bad creative. It's a bad commercial. And so then there's like a hush and nobody says anything. And I'm here to tell you, do not be the person in that room that says anything. Don't say anything. Nobody else say anything. Don't say anything. When you walk away, don't say anything. When people are like, that was interesting, you go like, that was great. You just smile. Like,
yeah. I think it's important to be able to read the situation and to know what the situation can bear and what will be too much for the situation. So in an instance like that, obviously a ton of work has gone into that. So feelings will be hurt if it is criticized. And it's, if I was the creator and someone said, this is not good creative, I would be very sad and very upset. And so we can take that into account. And then this is where the difficult leadership moment comes in, because then it's like after the meeting, especially if you're someone who's more in a position of power, who can steer it in one way or the other, you have to think about, how am I going to open up this conversation? Am I going to let that creative get out there? Or am I going to find a way to steer this ship? But if so, how do I do that respectfully and in a way that gets us the impact that we want? Leadership isn't always glamorous, right? It sometimes looks like, oh, you're the one that has to go fix that, right? You're the one that has to have the uncomfortable conversations, but you have to have the interpersonal skill and the ability to hold your own emotions in order to navigate things like that. And I find people in high-level leadership positions more often than not, that's what they're doing. They're doing things like that.
This is where I know I don't need to be in corporate, because that always frustrates me. Mm-hmm. And I'm typically the person who wants to say the thing that everybody knows not to say. And I think it's the neurospiciness that it irks me that nobody is saying the truth. Everybody's just walking around like, oh, this was great. And I know you, like, I see your face. I see your face. I see your body language. I see your tone, that high-pitched lie that you're telling. Like, why are we sparing people's feelings like this? It drives me nuts. I don't get it. And
it's hard. Well, I think this is one of the hard things about being in a workplace is we all have different interpersonal styles and different temperaments. So I'm guessing for you, you're probably also more comfortable with people being direct with you, right? And telling you.
I love it.
Exactly. But so then there's people who are the opposite, where it's hard for them to be direct and it's hard for them to receive it. And so then the question becomes, how do we interact with one another when our styles are different? And how do we find a way to make that work? But the people who answer that question get really far in an organization because they've somehow figured out how to get things done without pissing anybody off along the way. Mm-hmm. And it's a very tall order. Like, it's not easy to do. It requires insane amounts of patience. And it can also really help you distinguish yourself because you become the only person that can navigate through it, because now it's interpersonal. They can't just hire someone to do that. And that can really distinguish you in an organization.
Yeah. And I've seen those people and I've seen them rise, and I've always admired them because they show up as the diplomat.
Yes.
And I just,
And
they're even keel. They're never frustrated.
Yeah. I would say sometimes it's telling people what they want to hear, but sometimes it's knowing how to tell people what they don't want to hear.
Yes.
In a way that they can actually receive it, which makes it become something they want to hear. You transformed it somehow, and now they're open to hearing it.
Yeah. And that's one of my communication struggles, is understanding how to communicate in a way that somebody can receive it. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily how I would want to receive it. Do you have any tips for that?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm a really big fan of having conversations with people around this and saying, what is your preferred way of receiving feedback? What feels good to you? Even when you're starting with a new boss, asking them, how do you like to interface? How do you like to delegate? What feels really productive for you? And then what starts to feel very frustrating to you? Because literally everyone's different, and something that is very helpful for one person can drive someone else totally bananas. And so I think, like, to just very honestly say, I'd love to learn more about what feels best to you when we're working on this together. You know, for some people, they might be scared to open up to you, and they might just like say the perfect little ABC answer. But then some people might really open up to you, and that opens the door for a really wonderful interpersonal connection that can become a part of that professional relationship.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is just not being afraid. Not being afraid to ask these questions. Not being afraid of saying the wrong thing. You know, a lot of this is about us influencing. And there's power in that influencing. So you can't walk on eggshells with it. You got to test and learn. Mm-hmm. You're going to fuck it up sometimes.
Yes.
And that's okay.
And I really like to think about it as the more I can empathize with the other person, the more effectively I will navigate whatever frustrating dynamic is happening between me and them. So when we go to a place in our minds where we're thinking, why are they so difficult? They're never willing to receive feedback, or they always do blah, blah, blah. All of our walls and defenses go up, and then we become more frustrating to them. If we can get to a place and really be honest with ourselves and say, you know what, if I was them and I said what I said to them and I had their personality, I could see that that would feel really bad. Okay, maybe I should adjust. It requires so much humility. And I hate doing this. I hate being like, oh, maybe I did that wrong. But it makes us so powerful in our interpersonal skills because we learn, oh, I need to adjust, I need to course correct. And then ultimately we end up getting the thing we want. And so I know you said this and it really stuck with me. You said you're playing chess versus checkers, right? And that's a little bit of what this is. If I can have the patience to figure out this frustrating dynamic between me and this person, I will end up getting what I want. So even though I don't get the gratification of being totally honest with them now and saying, screw you, I don't want to work with you on this anymore, I am going to have a delayed payoff of I solved this big thing. I have a great reputation within the organization. And truly, when you solve interpersonal dynamics, you become very difficult to replace within a company. And that can get you promoted very quickly.
Mic drop. Yes. You are the bomb.com. Please tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, the best place is my podcast, The Art of Speaking Up, wherever you listen to your podcasts. I have a weekly newsletter. I can share the link with you for people to join. I've been on I've been on a temporary social media break. So when I was prepping for our interview, I was thinking, where should I send people? I have an Instagram. I haven't been on it very much, but following my podcast is probably the best way to get to know my work.
Awesome. And then your coaching practice.
Yes.
If people want help, how can they find out more?
Yes. So the main way that I work with my clients is in my group program, the Art of Speaking Up Academy. And I can share the link with you as well. There's more information on my website. This is where I support women in building inner confidence so that they have the courage to have a strong voice in the room. And I also help them with some of the more practical executive communication skills they need to sound crisp and powerful and polished when they speak.
Yes. I love it. I love it. Listen, guys, listen to The Art of Speaking Up. It is a fantastic podcast. She just drops. You think she dropped gems today. She drops gems in her podcast all the time. If you feel like Jess is my person, sign up for her coaching, group coaching. Like, I'm telling you, I've seen the reviews. She is the truth. You know, I don't bring y'all no BS. If you know you need Jess, go over there. Okay? Sign up. Invest in yourself.
You're so sweet. Thank you, Felicia.
No, you're the truth. I really appreciate you. And until next week, guys, when we have another dope ass episode, keep it trill.